Welcome to JuneFlicks, as this is the month that I usually watch something like a movie for them. And well, I can do it with anyone, but it's June, so what do you expect? I think most people would agree with me when I say Sonic's been in a good place for the past decade or so, or years comparing for the past 30. Yes, even through their community always seems to be fighting with every fan base because they think Sonic is peak. We say that Sonic's kind of cool again. Although indie games particularly has made Sonic really just a darling to try out, especially with these indie developers. Gotta at least try. And the Sonic movie actually being pretty good and sort of gotten Sonic to be kind of cool again. And especially if you're like me that grew up in the dark age of the Sonic fandom, I'm kind of surprised of how different the whole community has become in a lot of ways. It could just be that the fan base stopped being the butt of jokes that I've ever seen them, but
I have to explain this again. I'm fast. I'm so fast.
I feel like it's graduated to a new status that it's kind of cool to be a Sonic fan without all the baggage of being a Sonic fan. I mean, just look at the things that the Sonic fandom did around this time.
Hot chick heaven.
Yeah, no, seriously, this is somehow comedic genius to me. This might just because I'm too irony-pilled to see that it's not a joke, but this is somehow so masterly done that there has to be nuance with it.
A dress? And when have you ever seen 3 big, very smooth arcs of hair sticking out of a person's forehead? I haven't.
But with me looking back upon those things that I used to watch as a kid, that was psych-related stuff like, you know, Super Mario Bros. Z and other fan games that I used to play at school, that was surprisingly good for what they were. And even seeing fan animations of the characters like in Sonic Paradox, by the way, is still making videos. That whole community is still thriving somehow. I'm just surprised. I can still remember being on like Y8 or Y3, you know, those websites back in the day, where you would see all these kinds of videos and games, and I kind of just forgot about the cool things about Sonic. And it wasn't that the arcade game, it wasn't that the Archie series, it was the fact that Sonic had an OVA. Hell, I didn't even know what that meant as a kid. But I watched this so many times as a kid growing up before I even know what the hell was anime. Back when I got onto the internet at the age of, man, I really shouldn't have been on the internet at age, just to be called the Sonic movie. So this is JuneFlicks. And screw it, I'm reviewing it. Why? Because I had nothing else to review. Because I already have another series I'm going to have to be covering their movies, and Jesus Christ, I don't want to mess up the order I have it.
Cat, a swallow.
Well, this is a 2-episode OVA that's from the Studio Period, Sega, and General Entertainment with the supervision of Sonic's creator. It was released in January 26th and March 22nd of 1996, and getting an English dub for the American audience in September of 1999, in which it'd be released of Sonic Adventure. Don't forget, this was released around that time of the Sega Saturn launch and was humiliated in the States and compared to their competition. I mean, where the hell was Sonic on the planet? I mean, yeah, there was Sonic Jam, but the Planet Machine needed the Bluebird more than anything. And that was one of the reasons why the system kind of flopped here in the States, is why it sort of became irrelevant all the way until 1998 for Sonic. Sure, there was the ports, 3D Jam, and oh god, I think that's even too extreme for me. But this is being the first time where the creators could really show how Sonic would sound and personality-wise, especially compared to the American. And yes, I even mean Sonic Underground. And well, you're asking me how Sonic sounds in comparison of the American shows. I'll be honest with you, really like this version of Sonic. I like this cocky attitude that he has.
That's a funny way to thank us. Someone tell me why I should trust Robotnik when 99 out of 100 times he's lying.
Sugar boy!
I know everything you're going to do. Strange, isn't it?
He sounds so annoying, and I get why Eggman would hate this guy. At least with the American ones, Lil White didn't do a bad job. He actually did a decent enough job where I thought was really great for what it was, especially in the way I think Sonic should sound, in which it should be a little on the annoying side, especially if you're doing something. Like, just imagine that you're working on some machine, you just see him asking the most obvious questions, and he keeps asking them over and over. So Martin Burke, I can definitely hear that southern twang in him, which was no real biggie, but it's just something that you notice and you're just like, interesting. Just for me, it has the right amount of the Adventures of Sonic's kind of style of writing, just because of how much Sonic just sounds like he'd be a jerk to everyone, but he's not really that much of a jerk. Like personally for me, I don't think Sonic has to be the most serious character, but I do think that a good place for Sonic is that if he can get to those tones, nothing to worry. We're not about to get into this whole discourse about who should voice Sonic. I'm not even going to get into that because guess what? I'm way off the topic. And let me get back into it. Anyways, and I mean, look at this guy. He made a whole decade of companies trying to make their character look 90s cool and be Bubsy.
What could possibly go wrong?
Everything Bubsy. But as this is supposed to be just a quick little side quest video for the month of June, what do I think of this little guy? And I can see why Eggman wants to destroy this road. And well, the plot goes to something is this. After saving Tails, this old owl comes along and he says he has some news about Robotnik getting himself in some trouble and having the issues with the president and forcing Sonic to solve their issue. And while not taking the president and his daughter as prisoners, Sonic really does not want to do that. Not wanting the chaos, and again, it's his mortal enemy Eggman, so why would he ever help? But knowing that, Sonic kind of just bites the bullet and actually decides to help. And I can just say this also, I just love the visuals of this. It screams so much of what I think what Sonic's world would look like, especially with how it looks visually. It's one of those things where I think that it does the right things of hitting yourself with its own elements of, you know, just how OVAs were at the time with its coloring and whatnot, and how the games are more, I guess what you would say is more arithmetic of its own style of having its own patterns and designs. I don't know. I think if you're just translating the game into this would be what you're asking for without making it seem like you're going too far into the games. So I could just gush at the expressions of these characters like, oh my god, look at Eggman. But what seems to be happening is that, and Eggman as part of the planet, there's an issue going on that if they don't get it resolved, that everyone's gonna be dying. In which, yeah, that gives a valid reason why Sonic actually wants to help. And it's because of an evil version of Dr. Eggman, a mech named Metal Robotnik, or in the original Japanese audio, Black Robotnik. Exile him to his own utopia. Robochopolis is pretty much going to be destroying everything, and unless Sonic helps him out. But with the begrudging agreement, they had their head over there, with Eggman being a pro gamer.
Right, one more.
Just give up. We've played 100 times.
Well, they're heading on to their journey. And as they arrive, they crash their tornado, in which they see the entrance to Robochopolis. Wow, I didn't thought they were in Gary, Indiana. But as they get chased down, they find out that the city is actually sinking, and they meet Metal Robotnik. And after toying with him for a bit, it actually becomes a chase to get Sonic and Tails, in which, you know, chaos ensues. Sonic and Tails nearly die, in which they try to escape, but with the help of their own little red echidna, Knuckles comes in and actually gives them a favor. But all serious, all I know is that Knuckles got a cool hat. Eggman was in that damn suit. Not a duo, but a trio also investigate inside of and stops the machine by the nanoseconds, or we thought, as the machine starts to be destroyed, but it's actually just a trick under the sleeve to actually get Sonic's data, in which we see the big bad of this whole OVA. This is Metal Sonic. I'm sure a lot of you know when Metal Sonic debuted, and that would be at Sonic CD, but let me put it to you like this. I love Metal Sonic. As yes, I grew up in the adventure era, Metal Sonic has always looked super cool. As much as his replacement, and I mean his replacement, had more emphasis and more character to them, Metal Sonic has always just had that cooler look to me that always got me to be interested into the character. And now, especially now, looking back, that yeah, he's not the most hyped character really anymore. He really kind of had his final spotlight in like Heroes, and that was like when they gave him this whole new design. But he's really just now used for the classic era at boss. But you know, I'm just gonna be real with you, my Chrome child, you deserve better, my king. Just don't bring your brothers there. I especially hate this one, was mad annoying back. How they know that the Metal Robotnik was actually fake and just Eggman and Sarah that was inside controlling it, in which Sonic, I don't know why you have a bad idea with Sarah. Anyways, we see the metal copy, and in the movie they call him Hyper Metal Sonic. And I mean, just look at him. As they duel with speed, Metal gets a hand on Sonic and wrecks his back. But even Eggman acting like a Discord mod, Sonic gets himself back before taking another kick, in which they go back to the normal part of the world, and he goes rogue and destroys Tails' plate. But the old man is over and fly. Tails gets in the sweat space to actually learn about Hyper Metal Sonic, and actually kind of figures out that if he has the spirit of Sonic, that they have a good chance of actually making Sonic, Metal Sonic, more like Sonic, because in a lot of ways, he didn't hurt the owl. He's not doing things that are being destructive, unless it is going to be the objective, in which we will get there. But it's kind of more of a weird, but yet smart thing that Tails figures out, in which Tails tries to hack into Metal Sonic so when the time is right, they can actually fix the memory bank. And once again, we see an Eggman scene in which he's trying to have the attentions to marry Sarah. Sigh, Eggman. But Sonic is back and alive, and he wants to get his gift back and going to go to the glaciers, in which we learn that, if the glaciers gets destroyed, the whole planet's gonna be destroyed. In which Metal already wreaking havoc and Sonic arriving just in time. Sonic and Metal Sonic face off once again, and listen, this part always stays in my brain.
This world isn't big enough for both of us and one of us has to go? Well, I agree.
This is my core memory to be unlocked. Scene right here. To my oldest brother, you cursed me being a Sonic fan. With Metal showing that he's a dirty dog and Tails and Knuckles arriving, things to be in chaos as Sarah is saved and God's sake, Tail.
Tails, get off!
I'm so sorry.
Things to get more crazy with the magma reoccurring is both going band for band until Metal gets the upper hand, but Tails remembers about his memory banks and saves Sonic for the time being of being choked out. But the gang is all there as the president arrives and puts himself in his own way, but Metal goes reckless and tries to destroy Sonic, but somehow saving the president because of just circumstance. And this is one of the most important. Metal is broken, beaten, and nearly destroyed, and Sonic, fighting with him, actually sees him goes down to the lava, and Sonic actually tries to save him, in which Metal Sonic just tells him to fuck. And well, I mean, there can only be one Sonic, right? But there's the ending. Eggman wanting to make a copy of him so he can do this again actually can't, because the critter actually destroys the disc, in which it kind of leaves in a way of things going back to normal. Overall, the Sonic OVA has a special place in my heart because I grew up on the internet, and this was always the thing that I would always go back to whenever I found it on YouTube. Because let's be real, you really couldn't find this normally unless you were around that time of finding it. In which, yeah, as a fan, like, you kind of gotten some pushback of just being a Sonic fan in general, because guess what? In the 2000s, you were kind of the butt of the joke, especially after 2006. Holy shit. But as a kid that didn't know that there was more Sonic X episodes, it was just that 4Kids just uploaded once a week. With them, yeah, you kind of get stuck watching this over and over, and then once you're bored of it, you go into Sonic 2 and you play it so you get stuck on Oil Ocean Zone. I sucked at Sonic 2 as a kid. Hey there, I just want to thank you for watching this. I know this was kind of just like a weird thing to have for JuneFlicks, but I just wanted to have something yet again just for this just kind of just being a dumb tradition at this point. But, you know the next video is going to be, it's been the last 2 videos, it's going to be part 3, and, you know, after that one, it's definitely going to be the movies. I still haven't decided how I'm going to structure it and making sure that I can actually not burn myself out doing it. It is literally 12 pages of notes that I have to read and go through, and so it's probably going to be 2-parter, but hey, whatever you can do, whatever you can do. Don't forget, I have Patreon, I have Coffee, so if you want to donate, it's always welcome to. Cool people are right here, but if not, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll probably be back in the month or so with more. Bye.